Hi, my name is Kevin, and I collect old irons. For the old irons, the diversity was never greater than from the 1890s into the 19-teens. Everything, all the technologies are still being manufactured, marketed, and used. We're talking about the solid irons that will be on the stovetop, the detachable handle irons, the coal irons, and starting in the 1890s, we see the appearance and wide use of liquid fuel irons, natural gas irons, and electrics all at the same time. During this time, wood stoves were becoming more uncommon in urban areas. Very much a thing in the past. Some people were still using the old solid irons heated on small kerosene stoves, but irons heated with liquid fuels, natural gas, or electricity were now coming very much onto the scene. But irons must be heated on a clean surface, because ironing clean clothes with dirty irons makes no sense. The stovetop was a messy environment, so ironing moved to another location, maybe the laundry room or any other location where an internally heated iron was convenient. Starting in the 1890s, the newer technologies of gasoline, natural gas, and electricity were very much coming onto the scene, and these three technologies ran neck and neck for the next 30 years. Whether you preferred the gasoline, natural gas, or electric irons depended on a lot of factors, particularly where you might live and whether you had availability or a good comfort level with electricity. One way to see this competition is through the patents. During the 1890s through the early 1900s, there were many patents for gasoline and natural gas irons. The number and variety of patents is comparable to the fluting iron patents of the 1860s and 1870s. And as with the fluting irons, these had a golden age of maybe 20 or so years. The gasoline irons are rather complicated, made of many parts, and as we've seen in the Imperial Gas video, these had detailed instructions and parts lists with the ability to order replacement parts as needed, and consequently these were very hard to use, and we had a great deal of difficulty firing some of these up. Whereas natural gas burns quite easily, and the irons have few moving parts. Many of the older houses were outfitted for natural gas, and canisters of gas were available then as now. The main issues, looking at the natural gas patents, was the shape of the chamber within the iron and the external design. Among the natural gas irons, there were two companies that were particularly successful, marketing to both the professional tailor and to the domestic housewife. And the products of these two companies are not so often found necessarily in the irons, but in the trivets that both used to market these. And these were marketed with two very catchy words, if you will. This by the Strauss Company says, "I want you," and this stand by the Rosenbaum Company says, "You need it." Irons of the Strauss Gas Iron Company of Philadelphia had two important patents by Speer and Stickler. This patent was for the inside of the iron, but there was also a design patent for the outside. Both Speer and Stickler had a lot of patents for both natural gas and electric irons, but these two patents were assigned to the Strauss Gas Iron Company, and Strauss made a big deal of that. The Strauss Gas Iron Company marketed these with the catch term, "I want you," and further called these comfort irons, again emphasizing the freedom away from the hot stove environment, and then licensed this design to a lot of other companies, all of which had very similar irons. The UNEEDIT irons were made by the Rosenbaum Manufacturing Company of New York. Unlike Strauss, Rosenbaum was the inventor and had a lot of Saturn patents from 1906 to 1913 at least. These patents offered different mechanisms for the distribution of heat to the bottom of the iron. Both the Strauss and Rosenbaum companies, besides just the catchy name, had something else in common. This is the Strauss stand. It is robust, heavily built, and quite decorative. Just the weight advertises the kinship with the heavier irons used for the professional trade. These trivets are much more massive, much more ruggedly built than the old Enterprise Colebrookdale signs from the 1870s or so. Just take a look at the size of the legs on these irons. As already stated, Strauss licensed its production to a variety of other companies, generally in the Philadelphia region. Each company has its own quite similar stand with a distinctive company name. I have here stands for the B&H Peerless, the G. Kefauver, the Modern Home Gas Iron, and the King Iron. All were manufactured by companies in Philadelphia. And here is a picture of the McClary iron stand from Ontario, Canada. I hope we can be doing a video on Canadian irons soon. Each of these stands has a picture of the Strauss type iron, and there were other companies that likely had similar stands out there. This is a picture of the Superior gas iron from a 1919 catalog. There might well be other stands in this group. The small irons of the Rosenbaum company, made for the domestic trade, have quite a great deal of variety, which shows that these were used for some number of years. The variety includes the nature of the handle, the presence of the shield, the placement of holes along the side, but all of them have a little latch on the front which you can unhook and easily exposes the inside, which shows these inside to be quite simple. Rosenbaum had stands that were generally similar to the Strauss stands, complete with a picture of the iron in the middle. These are 7 inches long, although there may have been larger sizes as well. Despite such similar marketing techniques, as far as I can tell, there was no close relationship between these two companies. And these two companies were both very successful, probably the most successful at selling natural gas irons in the 19-teens. And both companies sold a wide range of sat iron products, from the small irons for the domestic use to the very large irons to be used by the professionals. And here are two larger IWANTU irons. These say IWANTU Comfort gas irons. This particular one is smaller, simpler handle. This one's larger, more robust handle, has a shield, and these are associated with a larger stand. The stand, again, very heavily made with a illustration of the Taylor iron here on very robust legs. And there's enough of a range of sizes here that I'm sort of wondering if the stands might also come in several sizes. And Rosenbaum had a similar variety of large irons. This is a pretty common iron with a immense flat iron shape, with the gas coming in from the front, with a very massive stand. There's another type that's even larger, more elongate. I don't have that, but here is a picture of the stand I saw on eBay. The stand is 12.5 inches long. And here is a hat iron, and it is not marked Rosenbaum, but it has the same kind of arrangement here, back of this one, front of this one, using the same patent. So quite a diversity of Rosenbaum larger irons. And IWANTU also put out a rather streamlined double point iron. These have patents from 1913 to 1921. It opens very simply to expose a very clean interior. Again, no extra parts of any kind. And it has also a very robustly made stand. Again, the IWANTU Comfort iron with the nice little illustration of this particular iron. I have spent some time looking for advertising ephemera for the IWANTU and UNEEDIT irons and have found very little in that regard. J. Raymond found 2 ads for the later IWANTU double point type, but these are not advertisements for potential buyers, but for potential sellers in the gas industry magazines. But something that Strauss did use in advertising was clocks. I saw one of these at an auction some years ago. It went for $200-300, but another one recently came up on eBay. I got this for a lot less money. Does have some damage to the crystal and missing one of the hands, but it says IWANTU ironing time. J. Raymond has also showed in a recent article published in Pressing News an announcement that Strauss had won an infringement suit. So I went looking for information on this and found a 2021 article in the Berkeley Technology Law Journal. I will include a link. This patent dispute has some historical importance, as this suit served as precedent on the use of a design patent as a 3-dimensional copyright. There was also a 1916 patent dispute with another company, which Strauss did not win. All this gives us some insight onto how intense the competition was between the natural gas iron manufacturers. But this intense competition that began in the early 1890s between the liquid fuel, the natural gas, and electrics was ultimately, by about the end of the 19-teens going into the 1920s, resolved in favor of the electric irons. This is an ad, very typical ad from 1916, showing where the electrics have now reached a quite modern appearance, and in the course of the next few years they would rule the roost. So, thank you again. I will be recording more of these in the near future. Please check in with me, send me emails and so forth. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.